Welcome to another episode of the Kingdom Housing Podcast, where we interview real people making a real difference in their cities. Welcome in, Katrina. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm excited to connect with you and see what you've been up to. I've been hearing a lot about all the good stuff inside of the community and what you've been posting. So for the people out there who are not familiar with you, you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Katrina Robinson. I have 3 group homes that I operate in San Antonio, Texas, but I actually live in Los Angeles, California. So most of the questions that I get are about how do you run group homes in Texas when you live in California. So I ended up documenting all of my processes of what I did to start and how I run my business. And I started coaching other people on how to run their group homes remotely.
Awesome. Ton of stuff to unpack there, especially like you said, the biggest thing is you operate 3 group homes in a state that you do not live in. So
Right.
definitely want to get into that and see how that process has been going for you. But before we dive into that, what made you want to open up a group home in the first place?
I actually wanted to go into assisted living first because my mother had an assisted living facility in San Antonio. And I ended up going to the military and doing all these other things in life. But
Thank you for your service.
thank you. I never had really a desire to work a 9 to 5. I never liked working just a regular job. I always had that side hustle mentality and I wanted to get into something. I knew I wanted to do some kind of business, but I wasn't exactly sure what. And I always loved real estate. I started buying houses and selling houses a long time ago. When I was 21, I started buying and selling houses. And because I was in the military, so I had that 0% VA loan. So I would buy a house, sell a house, buy a house, sell a house. And I
Right.
wanted to see how I could have a business that was related to real estate since I really like houses. I can watch HGTV like all day long, 24/7. So I decided that I wanted to rent out houses instead of buying and selling. So I started renting out one of my houses instead of selling it when I moved. And I was making about $200 a month on that house. Once I paid the mortgage, my profit was 200. And I was happy with my $200. But then when I started thinking about what are ways to maximize this profit, and also help people. I'm also really into helping people. I started looking into assisted living. So I actually went through the course and I learned how to become a certified assisted living manager for the state of Texas because I went to high school in Texas. I was stationed in Texas later on in life, and I just knew Texas was cheaper than California. So I took that course. And I actually was this close to buying an assisted living that was already existing. And when I was under contract, I was still in the period of time where you could pull out of the contract. My sister passed away. And when she passed away, I got custody of her 2 children. And when I got those kids, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want the stress of having this new business. I don't want to end up on the news because something happened at my assisted living facility. So I decided to just scrap that idea and I pulled out during that option period of the contract. So when I pulled out, I was really sad. I was sad about it. And I told one of my friends, and my friend told me, why don't you just go into independent living? That way you don't have to have a housekeeper, not housekeeper, you don't have to have a cook or medication management, a nurse, somebody taking care of everybody, doing the bathing and the feeding. So I was like, okay, I'm going to look into that. Now I thought unlicensed meant illegal. So at first I was like, I don't know about this. This doesn't sound right. So I
Right.
did my research. Yeah, I did my research and I found out this is legal. It's just people living together under one roof and they share in the common areas. And you can charge a little bit, not a lot, but you can basically charge an affordable price for them and also make a lot more money on the same property. So instead of $200, now on that same property, I can make $2,000 a month. So I was sold at that point, and that's how I got into doing the independent living
Let's go. From $200 in net
to
profit to
2000,
2000. I love that.
10x.
Yeah, 10x for real. Okay, what would you say has been the hardest part about opening and getting started with your independent living home?
Really, it was just the nerves and the jitters, I think, because you can look at YouTube, go down that rabbit hole of YouTube University and learn
Right.
all the things, and you can learn how to do this, but you really need you need that courage. You need that courage, and you need to know the step by step. Okay, you do this first, do this next. And you just basically need somebody in your corner that's like, okay, do this, you got this, because it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy at all. And you're dealing with organizations like caseworkers and social workers, and then you're also dealing with all the people that are in the house and what comes with multiple different people and their personalities all under one roof. So it can be very stressful if you don't have systems in place.
Right. No, 1,000%. People ask me a similar question all the time, and I say shout out to the fellow introverts like myself. But the hardest part is, like you said, just getting out there and speaking to people and like coming out with like that self courage to speak to the case manager, deal with the residents that are in the home. So a lot goes into just developing and becoming a different person as well. Now, you already had, it sounds like, real estate experience prior to going into the group home space. So you own all three of your locations currently, correct?
Yes, that's right. I own all three of the houses, but I always tell my coaching clients, you do not have to own properties. You don't have to own properties to do this business at all, but I do own all three.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going. So I get asked all the question, is it better to rent or look to buy when you're first getting started? I always tell people I look at real estate investing and the group home business as two separate types of businesses, right? Real estate investing is one thing. The group home business is the exit strategy for real estate, but there's two different learning curves. So I say, hey, if you don't have any real estate investment experience, it might be smarter to start off with a rental property. But if you have the real estate investment experience, go ahead and purchase. But curious your thoughts on that, and when you're coaching clients, what you recommend.
That's great advice. So when I talk to my coaching clients, I usually tell them if they're in a position to be able to buy a property, go ahead and buy the property. But I like your advice better. If you have real estate experience, then go ahead and buy the property and you're in a position to buy, because real estate and the group home business, those are two different things. And if you're just now learning how to do the group home thing, you don't need the extra stress of now you have this property and you have to deal with like the taxes and the things that come along with home ownership, like the roof, the plumbing, all those major things that if you're a renter, then your landlord would take care of the major issues that happen.
Definitely. Let's dive into the marketing, because again, you are operating these homes in a different state than which you live. So people, including myself, when I first got started, I took advantage of maybe going in person and visiting some organizations to help with the marketing in addition to like calling or emailing. What was your process like opening the homes when you were still living in California at the time?
Well, first I paid for, and I'm not telling you something that's not already out on YouTube, because people in my coaching program might say, you're telling all the secrets. It's already out on YouTube on my channel. But first I paid for a list of caseworkers and social workers, and I have a whole list of keywords. So I paid for a list of these people that I was going to market to. And I went on Fiverr, Fiverr, went on Fiverr.com to find a freelancer who would assemble this list for me. So I paid for a list. And then I started sending emails to the list and letting them know that this house is coming. This affordable housing place is coming. It's coming. Here's my phone number if you want more information. And I'm going to have an open house event on this day. And so a long time ago, so my minor was in marketing, but that was 100 years ago. My minor was in marketing, but they would say that you need to tell somebody something 7 times before it actually registers in their head. And now with the TikTok generation, you have to tell somebody 13 times, at least 13 times before they even notice that they've received that email before. So I was emailing them over and over. I'm having this open house. And then I scheduled the open house for when I was going to be in San Antonio. And so there was in the beginning, there was a lot of travel. I also made sure I scheduled all of my intake, the actual intake where somebody's moving into the house, during the week that I was going to be in San Antonio. So for my first house, nobody in the house knew that I did not live in San Antonio. They all thought I lived in San Antonio, but that they only saw me maybe every 3 or 4 weeks. they didn't know that I did not live there. So that's what I did. I basically did a lot of marketing, like by emailing people. And then if a social worker said, I'd love to stop by, I would say, sure, you can stop by during the open house on this date, or pick a time during these dates. And it would be the dates that I was going to be in town.
That's perfect. You had a whole system in place. So email marketing heavy. Did you do any cold calls at all?
Yes, I did. So when I got the email list, I also got phone numbers. And I just started cold calling places. And that was I'm also an introvert. People think I'm an extrovert, but it's because I extrovert myself. I'm an introvert. I do not like talking to people. I extrovert myself. And that's what I tell myself. I look at myself in the mirror literally and say, extrovert yourself. I extrovert myself for things like a podcast or for talking to people. I extrovert myself. So I got on the phone, and it was the hardest thing just to make that first phone call. But once I actually got in contact with somebody, I noticed that they were so happy that I called them. I thought I was going to have to be selling myself, but they were just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have this. This is awesome. We want to send you people. We have this many people that need housing. And I started feeling really good about myself because I'm also helping people.
Right. I'm definitely stealing that from you. Extrovert yourself.
Extrovert yourself.
So many people sometimes I have to give that advice to, and I'm going to keep it simple now. Just extrovert yourself. When you were going out and emailing and, connecting with these organizations, did you ever feel uncomfortable letting them know, like, hey, no, you can't come right now, but here are the time slots when you're available? Or did that kind of come natural for you because of your prior experience with business and real estate?
It came natural because of my prior experience. I think it's mostly from what I got from the military. I think it's more like, these are your boundaries. This is what I'm giving you. You pick from that. It's not, I'm so sorry I can't meet with you this afternoon. It's just, it actually puts yourself in a position of power because they think, oh wow, she's busy. So I gotta schedule during this time that she gave me because she's so busy. So I actually didn't feel bad about that at all.
Good. No, I love it. And, I explain the same thing to people. Sometimes it's difficult to get them to understand it, though. And I think it's maybe a limited belief of they put the case manager or the housing director or whoever it is above them when they're reaching out, because they're thinking that, they're asking for something. But I say, and I'm not sure in San Antonio if you would agree, but there are more organizations and people looking for housing than there are housing providers like us willing to
Absolutely.
accept it.
Yeah, you are providing a service. Once I noticed that the calls that I was having, the people were more putting me on that pedestal, like, hey, we have to have this good working relationship so I can send you people, because these caseworkers have lists of people that need affordable housing. And a lot of times the places that provide that affordable housing are only for families or only for mothers and children or something like that. And what I provide is independent, just individuals basically. So only single adults. And so to find a place that has beds for single adults, these housing coordinators and caseworkers are so happy to connect with me. So you find that they start selling themselves to you, and they're like, I have this guy, he has this, he has that, this is his income. Do you think you can house him? Do you think you can work with him? So you'll see that there's a shift in the dynamics there.
1,000%. Did you purchase the home prior to starting your marketing, or did you do your marketing first and then go out and purchase the home?
I bought the home first. Which I know a lot of people say not to do that. I bought the home first, but the house that I bought was in such disrepair. It could have been a complete tear down. It was nasty. It was a bad house. The foundation was bad. The roof was bad. It was like leaking inside. It was horrible. So I had to do a complete renovation of the house. But the house was huge. The house was 7 bedrooms, and two of the rooms were like double size, where I could put more than 2 beds in the room. So after all the renovations were done, I ended up with 15 beds in that house.
Wow.
And so I cashed out my retirement. I went all in on this. I cashed out my retirement and renovated the house. And then that's when I started marketing, after I renovated the house.
Wow. So when you were going to purchase it initially, did you have the plan already that you were going to use it for a group home?
Yes, yes. I already knew that I was going to use it for the group home.
No, I love that. Did you have any, I'm curious, sometimes with family members or, significant others, you kind of tell them your vision and what you're looking to do. You were purchasing a home out of state where you don't live, and saying you were going to open a group home, which is going to be your first time operating a group home. How did that conversation go with your significant other?
Well, thank God I was not married yet. Thank
Okay,
God I was
okay.
not married yet. So I didn't, I just was, I'm a risk taker. So I was like, I'm doing this, period. And so I did it. Now he was in my life at the time, so I discussed it, but he has my back like on everything. So it was actually, I think it'd be different though if we were married. He'd be like, whoa, I
Mhm.
don't know, let's talk about this a little more. But because we weren't married yet, he was just like, yeah, do it. So
Nice.
yeah, I went ahead and did it. But yeah, now I do have a significant. I have a husband now, and he's behind me 100%. When my company's called Roundtable Living, and I have these
Mhm.
Roundtable Living polo shirts, and we were just out there last week. He puts on his Roundtable Living polo shirt and comes with me to the house. It's so funny. I had a name tag on. He's like, "Where's mine?" So I got him a name tag. So
Well,
yeah,
good.
he's
He's professional.
100% behind the business. But I mean, I would be too if I were in his shoes, because you look at the numbers that the business is bringing in. I mean, it's amazing. So yeah, he's 100%
Mhm.
behind me, and he was with me when I bought the second house and when I bought the third house. So he was behind me completely.
Nice. So he's been there for the journey. No, that's incredible. And yeah, sorry, I thought you were married at that time too, but makes complete
No, I
sense now.
wasn't
So
at that
you
time. I'm a
you got to
newlywed.
take that. Yeah, so you got to take that risk on your own, and we're like, hey, we're good for it. I'm good. Let's
Yep.
figure this thing out. How did your intake process go? Can you tell us a little bit about that? So you did your email marketing. You scheduled the open house. How did the process go from open house, connections, relationships built to, all right, let's actually start getting these beds filled?
Okay, so after we have the open house event, first of all, at the open house event, I've got a clipboard there with the intake questionnaire, and I also have leases there, just in case a caseworker brings someone with them or somebody just from off the street that sees my marketing, because I market everywhere. I market on roommate apps and everything. So I have people who come over that are looking to place people, and then I also have people come over who are looking for a bed themselves. So when
Right.
somebody comes in and they're looking for a bed and I'm in town and we're having an open house, they can fill out the intake questionnaire right then and there. And then I can go over that and decide if they're a good fit or not. And then we will schedule them a move in for a later date. Never move in the same day, because I've been through that. That was a headache. Usually, if somebody wants to move in the same day, they have a problem. There's baggage. So, no, that's a horror story. So, for like people who come and visit the house who have clients who need to place, what happens is after the open house event, I send them an email thanking them for coming to the open house event and giving them my phone number. And by the way, if you have somebody, give me a call. So then they give me a call, and usually they give me a call with the person in the room with them, with the person who wants a bed. And so that's when I do the intake questionnaire over the phone. So I do the intake questionnaire over the phone. I also ask for them to send me proof of their income. If a sponsoring organization is not paying for them, I ask for proof of income so they can email me their proof of income. And I also ask for a copy of their picture ID. And that's because now I have an operations manager and he runs background checks. In the beginning, I was doing everything by myself. I did not have an operations manager and I was not running background checks on anybody. But you can decide in your business if you want to do that, if you want to run a background check or not. If it
Right.
was up to me, I still wouldn't run any background checks. But my operations manager has a lot of property management experience and he runs background checks. But we don't hold anything against anyone. That's the difference. I house people who have felony convictions on their records, and I house
Mhm.
people who have evictions on their records. So I house everybody. The only people I do not house are registered sex offenders. And that's only because I'm close to schools. It's not because
Ye-
I think they don't deserve housing. I think they do, but my houses are all by schools.
Within the 1,000-foot rule.
Right.
Got you. How did you find your operations manager?
I found him on Facebook, actually. When I opened my second house, when I bought the second house and I was about to furnish the second house, that's when I was getting in over my head, and I was like, I need some help with this. So I started looking on Facebook groups, actually Group Home Riches group on Facebook. I posted in there that I needed an operations manager. And then I posted in a lot of other groups, like there are groups for San Antonio rooms wanted, or San Antonio, there's all kinds of rooming type groups on Facebook. You can just type in like rooms wanted. Anyway, I started posting in all of those groups that I needed an operations manager. So one of the groups, I tried to join the group so that I could post. And when I tried to join the group, there was this questionnaire you had to answer before you could join the group and explain who you are and what you want to do in the group. So I put in there what I was doing. I put exactly what I was doing, that I was trying to find an operations manager because I have these group homes. The moderator of the group, the admin of that group, sent me a message and said, I think I know somebody who would be a great operations manager for your houses. I was like, great. Who? Him. He wanted to be the manager, the operations manager. So I told him, okay, meet me at the house on this day at this time. He still didn't know that I lived in Los Angeles. I just told him, meet me next week or whatever time that I was going to be in San Antonio. So he met me at the house. And one thing I really liked about him, because I saw him, I looked through the blinds and I saw him walking up. There was a piece of trash. He picked up the trash that he saw instead of just walking past it. He picked up the trash and threw it away. And I was like, yeah,
Smart man.
He's
Smart man.
Yeah, I was like, that's the one. So that's how I got my
Did you leave that for him on purpose as a test?
No, I didn't. It just happened to be a piece of trash. And I was like, wow, that was a perfect test. He didn't just walk past the trash. He picked it up. So, yeah, I ended up hiring and during that week, I actually did interviews because I had posted my operations manager job vacancy on Indeed as well, Indeed.com. So I posted it everywhere. When I do some marketing, when I do anything, I go way overboard. I post everywhere. And that's what I did.
As you should. As you should. Marketing is everything. I always tell people, Apple was going to market the new iPhone before you can get it in stores. Apartment complexes put a huge coming soon sign out when it's still just dirt and gravel on the ground, right? So all major companies market. You got to do the same thing. So you handled it perfectly. Do you have a house supervisor at each location as well, or is it just the operations manager?
I don't right now, but I told him that I recommend we have a house supervisor at each house, especially when we start to grow even more, because right now it's just 3 houses and he's doing fine with just being in charge of all the 3 houses. But if I were in his shoes, so he's a 1099 contractor. He pretty much has leeway of doing whatever he wants to do and getting the job done. I just told him what the job is that needs to be done, and he can get the job done however he gets it done. So if he wants to hire a virtual assistant or whatever, he can do that. But I told him if I were in his shoes, I would have a house supervisor at each house, and that would be the only person that I have to talk to at each house, instead of talking to 15 people here, 12 people here, 3 people here. I would just have those. But he's okay with talking to everybody at the houses.
Very cool. If you don't mind, I want to go back to before the operations manager was in place, because I think that will help a lot of people listening. You would screen people, you would set up the interviews, and you would plan, when people can move in when you were going to be in town, right? Because you said they didn't even know you didn't live in San Antonio.
They didn't know I didn't live there.
Right. How did you handle conflicts, or if there were any maintenance issues or roommate bickering? Like, how did you handle that living, or how did you handle that without the operations manager while living out of state?
So for that first house that I opened that had the 15 beds and I did not have an operations manager, I did have somebody who was the house supervisor. I did have one person who I kind of put in charge of the house. He was the first guy who moved into the house, and I just let him know that he's in charge of the house. And because he didn't have a job, where he was leaving the house. So whenever somebody wanted to come over to tour the house or something, then he would let them in. Because I did have tours that would still go on, and he would give them the house tour. And then if there was a plumbing issue or something like that, he would let the people in, let the handyman in, and that kind of thing. And he was the only person that had direct communication with me. Everybody else, they had the Roundtable Living business phone number, but he had my personal number, so he could text me or call me if something was going on where like he's got to call the police, and I could just tell him, hey, call the police or call an ambulance, that kind of thing. So he was the house supervisor. He ended up actually leaving and moving out when I hired the operations manager because he got his feelings hurt that I hired an operations manager.
He thought that was going to be his role.
He thought, but his skill set was just, it was what it was, which was being there at the house. Yep. And deal with conflicts that are in the house. He dealt with those. So if somebody was arguing, somebody wasn't doing their chores, he was like the house dad, and some people say the house snitch. He was the house snitch. He would call me and say, hey, so-and-so's doing this. I told him to stop, but he's still doing this. So then I would call so-and-so and say, hey, I saw on the Ring camera that, because I have Ring cameras in all of my common areas. I wasn't watching the Ring cameras 24/7, but if my house supervisor told me this guy did this around this time, then I would reach out to the person and say, hey, I saw on the camera you did this, that's not allowed, and I'll put you out if you do it again. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, she's always watching.
No, I think that's good. Definitely want to call that out because you don't want to put your house supervisor in a position to where you're just like, hey, Gary told me that you were doing this at this time, right? So instead, you're like, hey, I noticed this on the camera, not okay. Don't let it happen again. That way the house supervisor is out of the loop in that situation because they're still living there. So you don't want to inconvenience them in their home as well. And
I think that's something that a lot of newbie operations or group home operators, they get wrong, is that they want to kind of be their friend. They want to be the friend of the people who are living in the house and be the good guy. I have totally changed my mindset. I don't mind being the bad guy. I am the bad guy. When I come to town, you should have seen last week when I was in San Antonio, word spread. Katrina's here. Katrina's here. Everybody's like tidying up stuff. And if they didn't want to see me, they went running. So I don't mind being the bad guy because I'm hardly ever there. But my operations manager, he's there all the time. He doesn't live there. He does not live there. So he can be the bad guy a little bit too. But he has to deal with them more often. So whenever he has some kind of tricky situation that he doesn't want to deal with and he elevates it to me, then I tell him, make me the bad guy. Tell him I said this. And then it fixes it. So it's good to have a bad guy.
Definitely agree. When did you know it was time to go from property number 1 to property number 2?
Well, property number 1, I had the 15 beds, and I filled those beds very quickly. It was mind-blowing how quickly I filled those beds. And at the time, this was in 2020, it was 5 years ago. At the time, I was charging $560, which is very low, but I was charging $560 a month. But that was $8,400 a month gross that I was making. And then my mortgage on the house was about $2,000. So it was a crazy amount of money that I was making. I think it was I can't remember the exact number, it was like $5,000 a month extra that I was making just profit on the house. So, and I also had a day job as well. So I worked for the government full time. And I was like a higher up management in the government. I don't have that day job anymore, but I was working for the government full time and I had all this extra money coming in. And it was mind blowing. That's when I was like, okay, I got to do this again. The first house, I went through all the bumps and bruises. And once it got to be this smooth sailing operation, once it was like a well-oiled machine, that's when I said, I can do this again. And I wanted a nicer house because the house I started with was just, even though it was renovated, it was still just, I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it looked. Although the people who live there love it, their standards are different from mine. I wanted a nice, newer type house. And that's what I got with my second house. And that house actually had a house in the front and a house in the back. It had 2 houses on one property, one lot. And so I could house men in the front and women in the back. And it was a very nice house. So it's a different type of customer, different type of resident I have in that house than the first house.
Like a different demographic of people?
Yes. So my first house, 100% of the people in my first house are on some kind of assistance like SSI or SSDI. And a lot of them have mild mental issues, not the type of mental issues where they can't take care of their own activities of daily living, ADLs, because I do not provide any services at all. So they have to be able to take care of themselves. They have to feed themselves, bathe themselves, get themselves to the grocery store, or get Meals on Wheels. And most of them do get Meals on Wheels. And so that house is, and also people who have felony convictions are in that house. Yep. My second house is half of the people are elderly people who are fully functioning, fully capable, no mental disabilities whatsoever. And then the other ones are people with jobs. They're people who have jobs, but they just can't afford to live in their own apartment, because in your own apartment, you have to pay for electricity, gas, water, sewer, internet. You have to pay for all these different things, and that's all their money, or more than what they earn at that point. So they're forced, because of the affordable housing crisis, they're forced to live in a place that is more affordable and share the common areas. And that's the type of resident I have in the second house.
That's amazing. Two things I want to call out. One, I forgot to ask you the question that's probably on everyone's mind. You know, you're talking ADLs. You said you just do housing. What license did you go out and get to start this business?
You don't need any license at all. No license at all. This is unlicensed independent co-living. So now, actually this month, Texas just released their official definition of what a group home is. And my houses actually don't even meet that definition of a group home. A group home is providing non-medical assistance. I don't provide any assistance at all. I don't provide any services, medical or non-medical. Now, if I was providing any type of medical services like medication management, or giving the medicines, or helping anybody with their activities of daily living, like bathing, feeding, then I would need a license, as I should. I would need a license to take care of them, make sure that we're doing it properly. But I don't provide any services at all. So it's independent co-living is what I do. No license, unlicensed, but not illegal. It is legal, but unlicensed.
Perfect. I just wanted them to hear it from you instead of me always saying it. You do not have any license for the 3 homes that you operate. And then I want to address a limited belief that, you know, people have sometimes. I've been guilty of it at times, and it's having enough time throughout the day. So you said unfortunately your sister had passed away. You took on two additional children, right?
Now one of them just graduated high school, and then the other one is now grown, and she actually has a job in Washington State, and she's a CNA, so she's a certified nurse's assistant in Washington State. And then my other one is in college with me.
Love that. Congratulations to them, and kudos to you for the great work. But your sister passed away. You took them in. You were working a 9-to-5 job, and you were opening up this group home all in the same time. What kind of advice can you give to somebody when it comes to, time management, or someone saying, hey, I don't have enough time to send out these emails or do follow-ups like I need to?
I am a huge fan of batching work. So with my coaching clients, I won't get all into the details because that's the coaching clients. But when I deal with my coaching clients, I teach them how to set up their emails to these caseworkers, to set it and forget it. They set up their email campaign for the entire year if they want to. They could do for 6 months, they can do for a whole year. Set that up and forget it. And then I also teach a CEO hour, and that's on Mondays or whatever day of the week you want to do. But there's an hour of focused administrative work on your business. It's the time to work on your business and not in your business. And there's a whole checklist of the things that we do during that CEO hour. So that's how we stay on top of everything and make sure the bills are paid and nobody is left waiting for an answer on something, answering emails and answering phone calls. I also am a huge fan of do not disturb. I'll put all my devices on do not disturb and do complete focus work. I also work in Pomodoros. Pomodoros, you've probably heard of that before, but it's where you work for 25 minutes. And that's just like working straight for 25 minutes. Then you take a break. Then you work for 25 minutes. And people underestimate what you can get done in 25 minutes with nobody talking to you. Just complete focused work. and not listening to music that has lyrics, listening to some kind of beats or something. That's what I do. So
Yep.
I'm crazy about my efficiencies and getting my stuff done, because not only do I have these 3 homes, I had a day job until last month, what's July, 2 months ago. I had a day job up until this point, till July. And I also have a husband, and together the 2 of us have 6 children, and we have 2 dogs, and we have a church. So I'm super busy. So I am very, very strict about my time.
Well done and well said. The CEO Power Hour. I think that's a great thing that people can kind of take, and it's just when you knock out your tasks that need to be done on
Right.
a weekly basis, and no distractions, do not disturb. I had to put my
Yep.
phone on do not disturb for us to connect right now, just because you have to set time for what's important for you,
Exactly.
and
Boundaries.
hopefully your boundaries
Yep.
and your loved ones and people who are reaching out, they'll understand. And if there's an emergency, they should be calling
Right.
911 for the
Yep,
emergency
exactly.
service. Right.
Exactly. And me and my husband are complete opposites, because he's got all the notifications and dings and all these things going off on his phone. I can't stand that. I am like, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm very militant about it.
Yep. What advice would you give to someone considering opening up an independent living home or unlicensed group home?
Definitely get a mentor. Get a mentor, because whether it's just actually, I won't say whether it's a self-paced course, do the self-paced course, but also get a mentor. You need someone who's going to hold you accountable, and someone who's like a phone a friend, like on that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the phone a friend, like call them if you have questions about specific situations. You need somebody that you can talk to who has been there, done that, still doing it, somebody that you can ask these questions to. So definitely get a mentor. That's my advice.
1,000%. Yeah, every new venture that I'm looking into now, do a mentor for all of it. I'm looking to get into real estate, like on the real estate investor side of things. So learning about creative financing, sub-2, things of that nature.
Right.
Definitely mentorship all the way for that, because I'm not an
Absolutely.
expert in that space. You get to take the information that someone has already gone through, all the mistakes they made, and just expedite your process for money.
Right. Exactly.
Time is way more valuable than money.
Yes. It's your only non-renewable resource.
There
So
we
yeah.
go. There we go. And how can people connect with you? I know there's still a ton of stuff we didn't unpack, so we might have to cut you back on for another episode. But if people want to stay connected with you and check in on like your socials, how can they do that?
I'm everywhere on Group Home on Autopilot. So on YouTube, Group Home on Autopilot, Instagram, Group Home on Autopilot, LinkedIn, Katrina Robinson, Group Home on Autopilot. You can find me anywhere, everywhere. GroupHomeOnAutopilot.com. GroupHomeOnAutopilot.com is the best way.
Let's go. GroupHomeOnAutopilot.com. We'll be sure to link it up in the description as well. But Katrina, thank you so much for coming on, dropping gems, and thank you for the good work you're doing in San Antonio as well, and the people you're able to bless and provide housing to. What's next for Katrina and the business, and where do you plan on going in the next, let's call it 1 to 2 years?
So I just started doing my coaching program. I coach people one-on-one. I really want, just like you were just saying, to help people to not make the same mistakes that I made. So I've documented all of my processes, and I like to work one-on-one with people so that they go from A to Z. I want to see them open their group home and be profitable. And we do it in a 6-week intensive program. So my focus right now is my Group Home on Autopilot Startup Intensive Coaching Program. But in a year's time, I see myself doing more of the coaching, maybe expanding to the group coaching instead of just the one-on-one coaching, and also probably having a live event, a community. I just see the coaching thing growing. And then in the next 3 to 5 years, that's when I want to go into assisted living, which is what I wanted to do 5 years ago.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Going back full circle.
Yes.
No, that's awesome. I love that. Well, looking forward to seeing all your success and the people you're able to help, and we'll definitely have you back on for another episode.
Thanks, Terrence. I appreciate it. God bless you.